Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. I am Dirk Beveridge, founder of UnleashWD, and I am so pleased that you're joining us today. We've made a commitment to try to keep this to no more than 30 minutes, so I'm going to jump right in. The purpose of today is to share with you what you can expect by joining other forward leaning and innovative thinkers like yourself at UnleashWD, our innovation conference this October 29th and 30th in Chicago. It's been real rewarding to see that our vision of raising the spirit of the innovation conversation throughout distribution is beginning and taking hold and is spreading. Here are just some of the publications that are picking up our story and the content, the innovation content that we are sharing throughout the industry. I know that some of you online have heard about us through these and other sources. Equally as exciting, I've got to tell you, are the partnerships that we are forming throughout the industry. Our 2013 sponsors who are investing in the industry, quite frankly, include organizations like Zilliant, NetSuite, Insight Software, all organizations that can help you transform and drive change to add value to your customers. Two associations are really leading the way. We're honored. Tom Neighbor from the National Association of Electrical Distributors and Mike Catalyzes of the American Supply Association. They really are courageous leaders bringing Unleash WD and the innovation message to the respective members. Today marks the fifth webinar that we've held in the last 4 months to the Unleash community. And while the first four were focused on specific topics of innovation like business model design and thought leadership and its role in innovation, topics like how to catalyze a wave of innovation in your business, and then preparing for Google's entry into distribution. Today's webinar is a bit different. Today, we are going to look at what you can expect by attending our second innovation conference in October. Before I introduce our guests, Will Parsley and Cindy Davidson, let me give you a little backstory about how and why Unleash came to be. You see, I truly, down to my soul, I believe wholesale distributors, we must focus more on innovation. We must help the organization find new ways, better ways to deliver value. How did I come to that conclusion? 18 months ago, I was sitting in another innovation summit, the Business Innovation Factory, our friends out in Providence, Rhode Island. And during the course of multiple days, I'm sitting in this theater listening to 30 innovators telling their story. And over these days, these storytellers range from social entrepreneurs who were talking about how they had to innovate to help victims of Katrina. And then the next storyteller might have been the VP of innovation at Intel. And as you can imagine, everything in between. The only thing they had in common was that they were all innovators. And as I'm sitting there, all this stimulus is coming at me. I'm sitting there thinking about the distribution industry. And I'm thinking about our clients and other distributors that I've had a chance to interact with. And I'm thinking about the real innovators, the innovators like Berlin Packaging and C.H. Briggs and Valen and ABB Concise and Boundless Networks and a whole bunch more. And then I'm also thinking about the not so innovative distributors that I've been exposed to, and quite frankly, whose cultures have not accepted change, whose cultures are having a hard time allowing change to happen. So it was right then, as I'm sitting in there in that summit, I wrote a note to myself. And the note that I wrote to myself said that we needed to raise the consciousness of innovation throughout wholesale distribution. Now, it was just a spark of an idea. I wasn't sure if I was right. So I came back and I called up and I went and saw my network of distribution owners and C-suite and VP individuals. And I asked them a bunch of questions about this. And one of the questions I asked, I said, on a scale of 1 to 10, where would you rate the industry's focus and our abilities, the average distributor's ability to innovate? And you know what I heard? Every individual I asked that question to rated our ability to innovate and the industry's focus on innovation. Every single one of them rated it as 4 or under. Nobody said 5 or more. And then some of the specific things they told me shocked me. They said things like, now these are C-suite individuals from distributors. They said less than 10% of distributors are prepared or are preparing for the future. Another said that many distributors are already out of business. They just don't know it. Another said to me that much of the industry is working off business models that are 50 years old. Another told me when we go to industry conferences, it's like sitting at our grandfather's dinner table. And then more recently, I'm sitting around a table with 12 CEOs in Washington, D.C. within the last 2 months. And one of the owners of a distributorship, food service, said, with the disruptive and constant pressure from all directions, how do we create a sustainable and relevant business? So all the signs were pointing that we needed a catalyst for change in the industry. We needed a catalyst for change in the industry. So last November, we held the first innovation summit for wholesale distributors and our channel partners to ever be held. And we had about 45 distributors come. Now, quite frankly, I would have loved more, all right? But we had a great group. And we had 45 distributors, and we spent 2 days thinking about innovation. We explored what innovation is. We explored the concept of business models. We explored the concept of what type of leadership is going to be needed in the future. We explored things relative to how do we create this culture of innovation in the organization. After 2 days, the distributors came up on stage themselves and they said, all right, we've listened to 2 days of storytellers, all talking about innovation. What can we take and implement? What imperatives are we going to leave here with to begin implementing within our business? And we don't have the time to go through these 11 imperatives, but here was the roadmap that they left, outlining the imperatives, the priorities that they left with. And we've heard things like, I feel like I can truly be a disruptive agent. We heard things like, these 2 days have changed my mindset. There's stories of implementation we're going to share with you in just a little bit here. But maybe my favorite quote from somebody who attended was, I might be an old dog, but you have my tail wagging again. And that's what we want to do with this webinar, and that's what we want to do with UnleashWD. We want to get distributors' tails wagging again. We want to get our tails wagging about innovation, wagging about the future, wagging about change. And we want to inject in this positive, optimistic, and collaborative conversation throughout the industry. And I am so pleased and happy and proud that we've got 2 individuals, 2 great leaders in their own right. I promise you, neither of these individuals are old dogs. Will Parsley, and I got to make sure everybody knows that, Cindy, right?
Thank you very much.
Yeah, yeah. 2 individuals, Will Parsley, who's the business development manager at Carswell, 3rd generation leader of that organization, just doing great things. Will, thank you so much for being here, bud.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then, sorry, go ahead, Will.
No, happy to be here.
Yeah, awesome, man. Thank you so much. And then we got Cindy Davidson, Vice President Sales Operations at Cardinal Health. Cindy has been a guiding light for me from the time Unleash was just an idea on a napkin. And she was with us along with Will and everybody else last year. And both are going to be back again this year, I know. Cindy, thank you, too, for being with us today. Really appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. Glad to be here as well. Thanks.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, guys. So, guys, one of the things I promised those in attendance was that we were going to provide 3 reasons to attend. And we're here to hear some of your stories. But let me just real quick share with the group, when we talk to individuals, why they are attending, why they attended Unleash last year and why they are registering for Unleash this year. Really, there's 3 overarching reasons. There's a lot of reasons, but one of the key reasons is we're talking to leaders like the 2 of you who see that the pace of change within their business is too slow. They see that change is coming from the outside fast. And when we look inside our organizations, those that are latching on to UnleashWD say we've got to find a way to drive a faster pace of change within our business. A second thing we hear is the word the future. They talk about the need to create our future going forward. As we live in this age of disruption, the feeling that remaining relevant is becoming more and more challenging. And so they're locking on to Unleash to stimulate new thinking within the organization to create the future. And then the third thing we hear is that these are the forward-thinking early adopters, Will, like yourself, Cindy, like yourself, who know that innovation is a new imperative within distribution, and we need to find new ways to add value. So, Will and Cindy, there's certainly more reasons, but those are three reasons that typically rise to the top. You were both in attendance last year. You're both coming back this year. Do either of you have any initial insights as to why you feel there's a need for an innovation summit for distributors?
Yeah, Drew, this is Cindy. I know I get kind of stuck in this from time to time. I'm sure others do as well, but you find yourself working, I call it working in the business a lot, and you get so focused on that day-to-day versus working really kind of on the business. And I think that having that outside perspective, having an opportunity to find some ideas, connect with folks that, granted, might be outside of your pocket of a distribution industry.
Yep.
It's not a bad thing to necessarily realize that you may have some common challenges, but how you approach them, you might find a really unique idea, spark conversation, spark some new partnership that you wouldn't have otherwise. And I think that that's really one of the great things about having some of the speakers that we had last year and that I know we're going to be having this year, because it is really outside thinking. And I think that really helps to push you to working on the business, not necessarily just in the business.
Love it. Thank you, Cindy. I think about something that I hear about how distribution is such a busy business, right? The daily transactions and the like, and we get sucked into, the way you're saying it is we get, I don't know if the right word is, but we get sucked into that day to day. And here's an opportunity to get outside thinking to work on the business rather than in the business. Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Will, how about yourself?
I totally, the three reasons you outlined are definitely the reasons that we were there. I think our business, we're an outdoor power equipment distribution company selling lawnmowers and things like that. And I think we've gone through a lot of products in history, and we know that we have to change. We know that the time that we get to change is less than it was in the past. We know we have to remain relevant. But sometimes for lack of outside stimulation, our version of innovation becomes, hey, it looks like one of our competitors is doing this.
Yeah, well said.
This little thing right here. So let's latch onto that, and I bet we can do it better than them. And we were looking for more than that. We were looking for more than just what are distribution best practices or how do we outcompete our competitor. And that was our reason to be there.
Love it. I appreciate that, Will. And I know one of the things you said, and you've just said it here, was you needed to alter your business focus, stay competitive. And I know you always talk about this hyper competitive economy. And one of the things that comes to my mind that you just shared with us here is, your innovation in the past has been, let's take a look at what our competitors are doing, and then let's find a way to do that better. And I think and I'd love your insight in this. One of the things we try to do with Unleash is to go beyond best practices, right? Go beyond the best practices in the industry, which will at best keep us even with our competitors, and to look for those next practices. And it's one of the things we're trying to do. And I guess Will and or Cindy, any thoughts relative to that and Unleash's ability to help you go beyond best practices to those next practices?
Well, I think it's sometimes not even knowing what those next practices are that's, part of, having Harley Davidson there last year.
Yeah.
Right? That's pretty far away from healthcare distribution.
Just a bit, Cindy.
Just a touch.
Yeah.
And yet it's those sorts of storytelling pieces that I think get you going, oh, wait a minute, there's actually something
that I can
out
take
of that might have some application here and thinking of things differently that you wouldn't have. It's just not what you would come across when you otherwise just continue to look to Will's point, looking at your competitors or, looking inward for that next idea.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks.
Dirk, I think that we definitely, one of the things that we got out of Unleash as opposed to the industry conference that we go to and we learn, here's how you can increase your profitability half a point through customer stratification or something else that's totally important,
which is important, absolutely. We're not minimizing that, right?
But doesn't alter the business model that we have for the future. It just adds a little bit to the bottom line, hopefully. One of the things that we got out of Unleash was from Bill Taylor of
Fast
his
Company.
talk
Yep.
about Fast Company. His talk about thought leadership, and that he shared this concept of thought leadership being what would define one of the pillars of your competitive advantage. And we took that from Unleash and have really used that as a lens for analyzing opportunities. Can we be a thought leader in this space? If we have a customer that's selling a product and they're being really creative to do that, that often is a way that we would find a new opportunity. As a customer would somehow be selling something and we'd find our way into that. And now we look at it and we say, okay, not just can we make a little bit of margin for a little bit of time, but could we be a thought leader in that space? And so that was a really valuable lens that we walked away from the conference with, that was different from what it's what I wanted to get out of it. I just was pleased to.
Right on. Yeah, very cool. Thanks. And, for those that are on the call, we just 2 weeks ago had Will a webinar on that very topic, applying innovation and thought leadership to lead your customers with our sponsor Zilliant, and that's up on our website for free. So others that are interested in learning some of that thought that you left with last year, it's up there. So guys, thank you. One of the other things we wanted to do today is, in complete transparency, right? There were 3 reasons to attend Unleash, but, to be fair, there are also some reasons why people might not want to attend Unleash. So I'd love to share with the group 3 reasons why not to attend Unleash and get your guys' take on it. And I think the first reason why some individuals would elect not to come to Unleash is because there are no speakers from the industry. When we talk to some individuals after they go to the website and they learn a little bit, I sometimes talk to people on the phone and said, hey, Dirk, I was interested, but then I went to the agenda and I looked to your line of speakers and I didn't see any speakers that I knew. I didn't see any speakers that I've seen at other industry conferences. And what I try to tell them is that, hey, this is by design, right? And one of the things I concluded, right or wrong, but this is what I believe, is that for years, we in distribution, we've locked on to a small number of industry consultants, gurus, speakers. Hell, I'm one of them, writing books for the NAW and the like. But we've locked onto it and we've become incestuous, if you will, and we're regurgitating some of that same stuff. And I believe in what Steve Jobs said is that, what we need to do is we need to go out and look at the best that humans have done, not the best that other distributors have done, but to find the best that humans have done and then try to bring those back to our business. So I almost joke and say the only way you're going to be invited to speak at Unleash is if you don't know what the word supply chain means. If you know what supply chain means, there's other conferences, but not here. Obviously, that's taken a bit extreme, but the point is we do bring in all of our speakers are from outside of the industry, and that's not good for some people. But I'd love your guys' take on it. And I know, Cindy, you're a big believer that it's important to get an outside the industry perspective. I know you've spoken a little bit about it already today, but any other insights you have on that?
Sure. I think I have a great opportunity with the role even that I have here at Cardinal Health around trying to get people to think and learn, whether it's differently, take on new challenges as a result of having responsibility for sales training as well as some other things with the company, clearly. But you never know what it is that will get somebody charged up. And I have found that more people remember things that are not part of, if you will, the same common landscape. So oddly enough, at one point I had actually assigned a group of people to have to read the book Bossy Pants, Tina Fey from Second City. And there were some things coming out of that, and people are like, you've got to be kidding. What's that got to do
Right.
with healthcare distribution? Well, you know what? I wasn't trying to teach about distribution. I was trying to teach about collaboration. And then, oddly enough, we actually had the folks from Second City at our event last year, and it really is all about that. So again, it's making sure that you are taking the time to look at maybe corners that you wouldn't have otherwise been exposed to, because where will that idea come from? And I think, Dirk, you've said it, and certainly, Will, you mentioned it in some of your first comments. Innovation isn't necessarily kind of determining and analyzing what your competitor is doing and trying to do that. That's not innovative. That's just copying.
Yeah.
So just
great.
For what it's worth, that's my take on it.
Great stuff. Thank you. And so I've written down to download on my iPad Bossy Pants. Okay.
It's really quite good.
I bet it is. Thank you. And yeah, I was going to say, you're pretty secure in your job at Cardinal Health if you're recommending Bossy Pants. So I love it, Cindy. Love it. Love it. And Will, the outside speakers, I know was a value for you as well, I believe.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I was certainly worried. We're a small business.
And,
a family business. And as much as I would like to have Google's cafeteria, it doesn't really make sense in this building of where 30 people work to have a full cafeteria.
Right.
Built. So I was worried I was frankly worried coming into the conference that a lot of the ideas that were shared would not have any application to a business of our size. And fortunately, I didn't find that. That wasn't what this conference wasn't about. Sharing sort of best practices from Silicon Valley. It was much more down to earth than that. And I got so much. Cindy mentioned the Harley Davidson presentation, and I got so much out of hearing about their marketing effort to connect with their customers. And I thought to myself, we do something kind of like that, not as disciplined, not as systematic, not as well, but we could do that. So that was very valuable to me.
Sure. Cool. Thank you, guys. Thanks. And let me share with the second reason why not to attend Unleash is because it's too expensive in both time and money, right? I mean, we are all busy. The pace of business is unlike anything it's been before. I mean, getting away for lunch today is one thing. Now, to get away for 2 days plus, the investment of dollars and travel and the like. But I know, Will, that you guys brought a team, your entire leadership team of 5 individuals, I believe, joined us last year, and you're even adding to that this year. And I know that you wanted to use Unleash as an opportunity to bring the management team off campus and think creatively about the business. How do you justify that in terms of time when you bring your entire management team? And there's an investment involved in that as well.
There was, and we chose to come up the day before and have time together to talk about what we wanted to get out of this, and we also chose to fly out the day after so that we could have a meeting together to make sure that we said, okay, what did we get out of this, and what are we going to do next? And saying that before we got home, and we all went in our own directions, and we couldn't remember anything weeks later. So that was a very deliberate process for us. I think possibly, other than obviously the time together, the most valuable thing, one of the most valuable things that we got out of that is that because we were all there and because we all shared and experienced the same stories, the same information, the same cases, it has provided us in the last year a lexicon or a
terminology and
like a business school set of business school case studies to refer to speed the conversation up, to say, hey, you remember the conversation about Harley Davidson? You remember what Cisco did in customer service when they talked about how they built these values and said, do whatever it takes.
Yep.
That's helped us have bigger conversations as a group than you're able to have when you say, well, recently I read this article, I meant to send it to everybody.
Right.
But,
right.
Or I did send it to everybody, but nobody read it, so I'll just tell you what it was about.
That happens to you too, Will? All right, I'm feeling better. I'm feeling better.
Sometimes I don't read them also, but I'm also the sender, I guess.
No doubt about it. Well, cool. I love it. And I might trademark the term that I just heard from you, buddy. Bigger conversations. I
Yeah.
love it. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks, Cindy. And how about from you? Again, time and money it's important for all of us, right? And um, boy, you've given time on the advisory board to us. Thank you so much. You've given time to be there again this year. Any thoughts there relative to the type of return on time and investment?
Yeah, I would say, Dirk, that I think as a company as large as we are at Cardinal, we have opportunities, from time to time to be able to participate in different types of conferences.
Yep.
And I would say that overall, that really is this type of outside in thinking is really supported well here because, just to Will's point,
Cool.
it gives people a really great opportunity to hear something different. But what I really like, too, about this is being able to bring back some different stories,
Yep.
some different ideas that, not everybody from the company was even able to necessarily get to. So I think that, especially for companies that maybe have not necessarily embraced coming to, some outside type conferences, I think you only have to do it once to realize that the payback is really quite big, and it gets people excited about, actually encouraged to look for more and to look for something different in everything they do.
Love it. Thank you. Thanks. Appreciate it, guys. And then the third one, and for the interest of time, and this is an important one, right? Is, and I was talking to my good friend John Mansfield the other day, and he said, Dirk, this sounds great, but hell, we might go and we might get all juiced up on new ideas, but what can we really implement? And it's a very valid question, right? 2 days of innovative stories, nobody over 18 minutes and all that. Is there really stuff that you can implement once you leave here? And Cindy and Will, just any thoughts relative to, taking these ideas and these stories of innovation, but then also the collaboration of meeting individuals, and we call them random collisions of unusual suspects when you meet during the breaks and dinners and all that. Did you find that it's conducive to actually do something upon return?
Yeah, I'll take a brief stab
Please.
at that, if that's all right, Will. I think on a couple of different levels. You can individually take some things away, or personally take some things away from some of the speakers. Last year we had Mark Allen, who was, a six-time, I think it was,
Yep.
Ironman, maybe seven-time Ironman champion.
Yep.
Well, for somebody like me, who on the weekend, my big exercise is for the most part walking around a mall. Yes.
Come on, I know it's more than that.
I could kind of listen to Mark and think, okay, yeah, I'm just feeling really unfit. And yet there is sort of that personal, wow, this guy's 37 years old and he's considered too old for that,
Right.
And yet he found ways to break through. I mean, is there something, whether it's personal from that or even on a company level, if you will, gosh, can you make some kind of relationship to that, to a very mature company and competing with upstarts? And how did he go about that mindset and discipline on concentrating on maybe 3 or 4 things that are different? That was one. And then I think, quite frankly, even going back to Harley Davidson, where it had, I think, more of a direct impact, which was, they were telling the story about how they really needed to change up how customers or potential customers had an opportunity, if you will, to trial the product. And they really started to take a different point of view in looking at how people were getting on the bike or getting off the bike and questions. And they were seeing bottlenecks when they had some of these larger events to try to get interest, in the bikes.
Right.
And you know what? We may not sell Harley Davidsons, we may not be selling motorcycles, but we still have really large, if you will, exhibits. And we've got customers coming in, and what can we do better, different about getting hands-on with product and being able to take questions better and applying that directly? So again, whether it's a personal or really a company piece, there's a lot to be said for kind of getting juiced up on a number of different fronts.
Love it. Cindy, and what I love it. Thank you. And what comes to my mind is, the thought, we talk about disruption, right? And disruption in the industry, disruption of our company, within our companies. And it's something that comes to my mind in what you said here. I believe that before we as leaders of an organization can disrupt the thinking in our organization, before we can disrupt and drive the needed change, in most cases, we have to disrupt ourselves. We have to drive that change in ourselves as well. And that's what I take from you when you apply, those lessons from Mark Allen. It makes you look at yourself before, and that's what's really going to drive that implementation. So, guys, I really appreciate that. Will, how about yourself, bud?
When we were waiting for this call to begin, we were all talking, and Cindy mentioned doing a 300 salesperson rollout of Salesforce.com for one of their sales divisions. And we have 18 salespeople and don't have Salesforce.com. So you would think that would be, but Cindy and I had a great conversation between sessions in Chicago about resources that she was aware of for sales training and sales best practices, and it was something that I was able to take away just from a random conversation. Whereas you would think that Cardinal and Carswell wouldn't be able to share much in the area of sales mentalities and training. Pharmaceuticals versus lawnmowers, but that was a great conversation and really benefited me personally. So I do think.
Love it, Will.
I do think there are even little things that you walk away from, as you mentioned, from those random collisions that you're able to build on.
You bet. Cool. Guys, thank you so very, very much. I know we're running up on the time that I had asked for everybody. And, there's other stories that, we continue to hear. One of the attendees last year has developed an innovation lab within their business. Pretty darn cool. Another has gone and taken a look at all of these changes of technology and has created a chief digital officer position. I know numbers, and Will, we've been working together, for several months and talking about business model reviews. And a lot of companies have told us about how they're focusing on millennials and developing more of a collaborative leadership. So the implementation truly is there, and we're just so proud and honored to be a part of the change that is taking place. So with that, Will and Cindy, thank you guys very, very much. Let me just give everybody a real quick overview. Most of you know that our second Innovation Summit is going to be held October 29th and 30th here in Chicago. We would really love to see you all there. Let me just tell you very briefly about some of what you can expect. Guys, I when I look at our lineup of speakers or storytellers, I truly believe it's unprecedented. We are looking to raise the bar in terms of the innovative thinking that's brought to distributors. We hold our standards high. So our two keynote, if you will, opening storytellers on day one and day two. Day two is going to be the newly retired NATO Supreme Allied Commander. James Stavridis is the Eisenhower of our time, and he just retired after 4 years of leading all NATO forces. That's my typo. Oh my God, look at that.
I wondered.
Yeah, sorry. Oh my goodness. Hey, who proofed this, guys? Sorry, Admiral. But this guy truly is a Renaissance admiral. He is truly a thought leader and innovator, and man, he is going to get us thinking in new ways. Equally as excited, our opening keynote on day one is Jay Steinfeld, the founder and CEO of Blinds.com. My God, if you want to hear stories about humanistic leadership, if you want to understand about cultures, everybody knows about Zappos, but my goodness, Blinds.com is an unknown Zappos in terms of culture. And this is a guy who has truly disrupted an industry, taking a 1,000 square foot retailer and becoming one of the most powerful e-commerce businesses out there. And we can certainly learn from that. So really excited about that. But equally as excited is our 14 or 16 other storytellers that we're going to have throughout the day. I mean, to tell you, equally as excited. I believe we're raising the bar. I know this is unprecedented. We've got business model gurus, innovation experts, leadership masters. When you take a look at the Twitter followers, these guys are, Will, you talked about thought leaders. Our storytellers have over 350,000 Twitter followers. We've got a gentleman who's going to be flying in from Holland, who is the Chief Design and Innovation Officer for Philips Lighting, who is reinventing a 100-year-old industry, the light bulb. It's unbelievable what we're going to learn. creators of worldwide movements. Angela Myers is going to talk about how do we create movements and get people to move towards our vision and the like. Just unbelievable. Innovative leaders at Cisco, AT&T, Pepsi, GE, and more, and practitioners who write for the Harvard Business Review, Inc., Forbes, the Wall Street Journal, New York Times, and all that. So I think I've gone over our time just by a few minutes. Again, thank you all so much for joining us. We really appreciate your interest in Unleash WD this October 29th through 30th. Our early bird pricing ends a week from today, so we really encourage you to get maximum value by signing up before next Thursday when our early bird pricing ends. We hope to see you there. Will and Cindy, put up your right hands, would you? I'm going to high five you both. High five you. Thank you guys so very, very much. Really appreciate your help. Thank you. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. Hope to see you all in October at Unleash.